Hi, this is Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about the Drudigar VidQuest, specifically Six Bells, the village, and specifically the history of Six Bells. Okay, so Six Bells is a village that, of course, is included in the Drudigar VidQuest, and when the player characters are in Six Bells, any of the people who live there, they all know the history of Six Bells because it's famous among all the people who live there. And so any of them could tell this to any of the player characters. But I'm going to tell you the story of Six Bells now. So the village of Six Bells is named because it has six bells in the center of the village. The village itself has about 800 people who live in it, and sometimes that swells to about 1,400 people. And the reason why is there are different travelers who come and go. There's seasonal trading and things like that. I'll explain what Six Bells does in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of give you the size of it. Now, so the main feature of the city are these six bells. And the six bells are in the center of the city, and they're all really, really unique, okay? Now, there are six type of people who live, there are six distinct races who live in Six Bells. And that is humans and half-elves and half-orcs and halflings and gnomes and tieflings. Those are the six races that comprise Six Bells. And actually, each of the bells was created by a member of one of those races, okay? Now, how did the six distinct bells get into the city of Six Bells? They weren't created there, okay? Now, about 400 years ago, basically there were six villages, all right? And each one of the villages corresponded to one of the races that currently live in Six Bells. Now, what happened was there was a mighty orc warlord who rallied a few different tribes and then went on a horrible war spree, okay? And that warlord went to the halfling village and slew them, okay? And they actually got a few magic items, and they were kind of, bolstered by their power, and they moved on to the tiefling village, and they killed everyone there. Now, in each one of these villages, this all happened about 400 years ago, in each one of these villages, the orc warlord killed 95 to 98% of all the people that lived there. Each village, there was a few people who might have hid in a basement, or actually they would actually run, because actually, yeah. So they ran, and so essentially, very, very few people survived. Like 1 in 50 people would survive when the orc warlord would sweep through. So he killed everyone in six villages, and they took the entire territory over, and they began to live there, okay? Well, this is where the story gets interesting, according to the citizens of Six Bells. And any of them would tell a PC this story. It wouldn't be difficult to get them to do it. Actually, they somewhat like to tell it. So at that point, they said that really each one of the old villages and each one of these villages had a bell, one distinct bell that was in them. Now, when the orcs, destroyed all the towns, the bells were just left in disrepair, right? Some of the buildings were knocked down. There was even a few of the bells that did fall that were in wooden buildings that then burned. But the fires did not destroy the bells, okay? And some of the bells were never subjected to fire, okay? But each one of those villages had a bell, right? But 98% of each of these villages was destroyed by this orc warlord, okay? Well, this was six villages, and each a different race, and this warlord swept through. They took the entire area with very, very few survivors. Well, this was such a horrific event, and there were so many lives taken so brutally, that the story is that the souls themselves called out to a different plane for a champion, and that champion came, and that champion was Champion Kavis. So Champion Kavis, again, 400 years ago, was a paladin from a different realm, okay, a different plane actually, and that champion actually journeyed to the plane where the village of Six Bells now is situated, and actually Champion Kavis came in, and Champion Kavis defeated every single last orc, hunted them down, okay, and then at that point, what Champion Kavis did was Champion Kavis dragged every single bell to a particular spot and surrounded Champion Kavis with the bells, and then immediately returned to Champion Kavis's back to Champion Kavis's home realm. Okay, all right, and then that right there, the circle of the 6 bells. Those bells have all been lifted up and put into special stone, special ensconced in these, essentially these, they're not bell towers. They're only about 15 feet tall. They're made out of stone, and they're made with a black log that each of the bells, and they each have their own encasement, right? And they're in a circle. And this is, according to the villagers, this is where Champion Kavis dragged every single one of these bells. Well, at that point, a few of the stragglers, just, the very, very few, and one from each race of the villagers came back, right? And they came back to the place where the bells were, and they realized, that someone, and that Champion Kavis had restored these bells and put them in one place. And from that point forward, the 6 Bells village, all of the races, rather than living in separate villages, they all live together, okay? Now, this story is all agreed upon by the people in 6 Bells. There is one thing about their history that is disagreed upon. It's not a fact about the history itself. It's what's to be done about the histories, right? So actually, the site of each of the old villages is known, right? And the reason why is basically, even over the centuries, each of the parents have told their kids where the original villages were, but however, they almost never go there. And the reason why is, though, all those corpses and different things, they attracted monsters, right? And all of those places right now do have considerably dangerous monsters, but far worse than that, because the people of 6 Bells, they're not weak at all, and I'll explain that in a minute. But they believe that all of those places are cursed. Like, there's just so much death in those places that each of those villages is considered to be cursed. And so there are 2 groups in the village. There's the honor group and there's the forward group, okay? And the honor group believes that the original villages should never be visited again, and that no one should be allowed to live there, okay? And now, this has not been that much of a problem because there's so many dangerous monsters on those specific sites that most of the time, if anybody tries to go and populate there, it's not a big deal. But there are a small group in the villages who are called the forward group. They're considered the forward group. And those are people who are saying, you know what, it's been 400 years. Maybe we should consider, using that land for something, all right? And so that is the complete history of the 6 Bells village. Thank you.